Hey guys, my name is Zach. I'm the co-founder of Advirtis, and I also got Ozzy with me, my best bud. Ozzy, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, it's me. It's Ozzy, also the co-founder of Advirtis. What we do essentially is we help agencies scale. We come in as a growth partner, and over the last several years, we've partnered with over 300 agencies here in the U.S. And in that time frame, we've had the luxury and the complete blessing to be able to see trends in the market, see how agencies thrive and how they make mistakes, unfortunately. Also, we really have the opportunity to meet a lot of different types of businesses. And Zach and I have been honored and blessed over the last several years with our team to generate over, 9 to 10 figures for all of these brands that we've worked with, all combined. Not that it's just individual brands. That'd be crazy, but but we're excited to chat with you today. Mostly what we'd like to talk about in this episode is more in line with what does success look like for marketing agencies in 2025, right, Zach? Is that what we're talking about today?
Yes, yeah. The landscape is changing with AI. It's changing from traditional marketing agencies to, some of these hybrid models. And we, like you said, we have the blessing of working with hundreds of marketing agencies, and we see all the time what works, what doesn't. We're practically through Advertis, we're at this point where when we speak with a new agency partner or potential new agency partner, we get a pretty good idea of if they're going to be successful or if they're not, and how far their business is going to go, depending on several factors. And so a lot of this is going to be anecdotal. There's never a silver bullet for everyone or for everything, but there are themes and there are trends that Oz and I both have seen. For what makes agencies successful, especially this year in 2025. So I got a couple of stories, I got a couple of thoughts, but Ozzy, I want to let you have first crack at what is one thing that you have seen make an agency successful in 2025.
Yeah, so this year I think was just a bit of a strange year, especially because of the economy and
Mm,
politics with the presidential election, with, especially in the marketing industry, a lot of the agencies, and we talked to several, at least 50 to 80 different agencies every single month that isn't our partner. It's just from our cold outbound, prospects.
hmm
And a lot of them they said a lot of the same things in regards to marketing budgets being slashed.
Yep.
It's a little unfortunate that that's
Yep.
always the first to go in most companies.
Oh,
Um,
every time.
but what I found is, even leading into the end of last year, a lot of the 7, 8 figure agencies that we're partnered with very specifically, they had a strategy going into that, which made me realize that that is what makes a 7 and 8 figure agency successful.
Mm,
It's about the strategy. You
hmm
know, it's funny. This type of business is more of like a lifestyle business. If you once you work with enough of these agencies, you
hmm
realize that, and they treat it that way too, right? They don't actually treat it like a business, and so that's I would actually share. It's not anything that's like pressing of like no, everyone listening to this should definitely know if you own a business, you got to act like the business owner.
Yes.
But meaning that you need to plan on working on your business. And so one of the things I noticed last year leading into this new year, because of the presidential election, they already expected it. They knew
Mm,
this was going to happen. So the preparation, right? The
yep.
preparation was huge. And so one thing that I noticed, some of these 7 and 8 figure agencies would strategically look at acquiring smaller agencies.
Mm,
And what was interesting about that is they were like, listen, they've got a book of business. They either are overwhelmed because they're glorified freelancers with an LLC
yep.
and
Yep. There's a lot of
and
them. That's most of them.
preach, right?
Mhm.
And then also there is this whole they there are opportunities to upsell within those that a lot of these boutique agencies, they just don't have the skill set. They don't know how to, they just in general, they don't feel comfortable. They don't have a sales team, you name it, whatever it is, right? So what happens is those types of agencies get bought up, they kind of just like almost like a venture capitalist, right? Like just kind of come in and, or a VC, like any side of private equities come in and roll up a bunch of small agencies and take on their book of business. That's a strategy. And they use
Yeah.
seller financing to do so.
Yeah, you're right. I actually think you touched on two really important um, topics that make these 7, 8 figure agencies really, really successful. One is they plan for churn. They already knew that election years, every 4 year, the election year traditionally is bad for at least the marketing industry because budgets are slashed. There's a lot of uncertainty. People don't know, and they're clutching their purses a lot tighter. So they plan for churn, right? And we know that there's a lot of agencies out there that don't. They hire up to their fill. They don't expect that there's going to be any type of churn rate. They think they're going to hold on to these clients that they land forever. And then when their clients leave and they don't have a pipeline built up, it or strategy or a plan or an acquisition plan, they have a really hard time, right? And they get really scared, really very fearful, very fast. So one, planning for churn, 100%. That is something that every marketing agency should be planning for. And if you don't have that number yet, Mr. Agency owner, you at least need to just pick it out, right? You can obviously do a ton of research yourself, but a very healthy mentality is it's just expected to lose 20% of your business every single year. Every dollar you earn, expect to lose it in a 6 to 12 month cycle, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Zach. Honestly, too, one thing that we've noticed in our agency even is when you're prepared, like for those, I call them seasons.
Mm-hmm.
When you're prepared for those seasons, oftentimes you're prepared for them. So even if you don't go through that season like you were expecting, like it's such a blessing. You're like, wow, this is great. You can reward your team. You can give promotions. You can hire more. And that's what you want to do as a business owner. So
Yes, yeah, it's so nice to over prepare and we all say like set low expectations and then over deliver. That's pretty common in the marketing industry, but we need to do the same thing with our agencies, with our businesses. Expect there to be a a a high churn, and then when there's not, great, then you're already stocking up your war chest for the next season, right? Or you're taking that money and then you're leveraging the opportunity cost and you're saying, okay, I'm going to reinvest back into my business and grow and scale into net new services, or higher quality people or a bigger team or that new system, whatever it may be, right? Or in the other case, you're saying into acquiring another agency, right?
roll it up.
Especially agency that aligns, roll it up. Because you're right, there's several. Gosh, I think on LinkedIn alone, if you look up, just type in marketing agencies worldwide, I think it's over 800,000 marketing
Yeah.
agencies.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I got the exact number for the US market. It's
Ooh,
104,000 agencies. It's a little over 104,000 agencies in the US market. It's a
man,
lot. A lot
that
of
is
competition, guys.
that's a lot of competition. And agencies are some of the easiest businesses to spin up. And so we've seen it. Sometimes you have a glorified freelancer, a solopreneur, right, who has their own agency, and they take business from a well-established, seasoned agency that's been around for years, that has a team, because guess what? The cost to learn, Google ads, the cost to learn how to build a website, it's not that high. And so it's very easy to kind of have those businesses, swap in between different agencies all the time, hence the churn.
As a business owner or an entrepreneur, it's low risk going in because a lot of it's based on your time. Now, if you're young, if you're
Mm.
older, you got more responsibilities. I
Yep.
speak with a little experience of this. You take on more risk when you start new businesses, et cetera, because you have a burn rate of a personal finance, right? Like whatever that is,
Oh, geez. Yes.
you got a burn
Yep.
rate there. But all that to say, it's like kind of going back to risk. That's another really strong point for the success of agencies in 2025. Um, you know, talking about planning for success and in making sure you're taking care of churn and potentially, using the capital that you've earned from the year prior to roll up and purchase a boutique agency's book of business.
Mm-hmm.
There's another thing that I've seen a lot of, which is risk mitigation. Being a business owner, oftentimes you're forced to face the fact that you have what we call profit and loss, whether you like to admit it or not. And that risk that comes in from that, I know personally, I've lost sleep at night several times when I have a month where my highest paying client doesn't want to pay their invoice on time. And I'm like, whoa, what about payroll? Whatever it is. So it's to me, it's like, how to mitigate that risk as much as you can, whether that being pushing out cash flow, things like that. And that comes in different variations, whether you're getting a line of credit for your business as an agency, or you're pushing your cash flow out. Like I get after Zach all the time. Treat your business like a savings account, Zachary. I'm calling him out on the show, but I love it. He's my business partner. Gotta love him. But all that to say, it's like having a plan, but also learning how to mitigate that risk is super important. So when you do have a dry season, you're able to have that dry season and still focus on investing in the right things, like your team, the company as the processes, that kind of stuff. That has led a lot of success for our agency this year, but also a lot of the agencies we're partnered with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Leveraging how much risk you're able to take on is almost directly equated to how much cash flow you have, right? So, there are agencies we work with that are only project based. Now, that's kind of tough for cash flow because you might be able to sell, a 20 or 50K website right off the back. That's great. That's awesome. But are you able to do that month after month after month after month? Are you able to plan for that? Or are you able to initially sell the project of a 50K website, but then sell into maybe a month-to-month continuity offer of maybe continuous SEO services, right? Or continuous paid ad services, or continuous, CRO, conversion rate optimization services, whatever it might be. That can really help with cash flow. And I think there's so much within the marketing industry that you can sell that's just project based, but then there's also a whole lot you can pair well with it for it to be a month to month, right? Or even a quarterly or a yearly retainer.
Yeah, I would share that, a lot of these agencies that are successful that I'm seeing, they typically have different lines of revenue coming in, whether it be on retainers, it be performance-based marketing, it be, a mixture of all these different things, like your traditional month-to-month, agreement. Um, and to your point, Zach, you made a really strong point. A lot of agencies right now are under this vanity of month-to-month agreements, which, we do the same as well, but we also have retainers built in there. We have a model that allows us to have reoccurring revenue so we can project revenue for the future instead of relying that all the retention is going to always be there, that churn that Zach was talking about earlier. So I think it's like having your eggs kind of divided, and I call them keeping your eggs out of one basket. It's like diversifying your risk. It's super important with your service like models, like how you sell, what models you sell, but even more so like the revenue streams. So, and how you're bringing revenue in. So, talking about that as an agency, that can look like several different things. But I can tell you, part of what we work with our partners on is making sure they have different lines of getting revenue in the door. So, have an outbound sales process, have an outbound sales team, have an inbound sales process, have an inbound sales team. That can be in the form of account management. That can be in the form of your operations team, whatever that is. Make sure you don't miss those, because oftentimes, from what I'm seeing, from my perspective of working with over 300 agencies, they miss them a lot. And it's not your fault. I would share that you're in the marketing industry. You're waiting for the referral. You're waiting for the inbound lead. It'll come, maybe not as fast as you would like, but you don't have to run your business that way. Invest in a sales team, invest in sales, invest in yourself to get better at sales. Like, stop sitting back and waiting. Zach, I see you keep unmuting. Get in
Man,
there.
yeah, I really want to hop in. I really want to hop in there. You're right. So we're not going to name names, obviously, but this happened several times. So it's not even, I couldn't even name just one name if I wanted, but uh, because we own Advirtis, and Advirtis is a white label marketing agency that is partnered with over 250, 300 now, 300 agencies.
310, 300,
Dang,
311 today, 311
that's
here in the
crazy.
US.
That's crazy. 311 agencies across the United States. Um, Even our own agency partners who work with us and white label Advirtis for, you know, SEO, for paid ads, for web dev. Um, Even they have clients that are currently on retainer, say for a brand new website, and they'll come to them and they'll say, "Hey, I want to do SEO for my website. I know my website doesn't rank really well. You guys did a great job creating a beautiful looking website. I want to now invest whatever needs to be invested so that my website ranks well for my business." And that's what the client says to one of our agency partners. And then our agency partner, because they have no sales system, no process,
Oh,
and they only rely on what Ozzy's saying is those direct low hanging fruit
oh,
referrals,
right in the face. Oh.
they say, "Well, sorry, we can't do that. Have a good day." And and Ozzy and I are just sitting there with their mouths dropped open, like, you just passed up minimum 30K a year in net new annual revenue. Minimum,
Minimum.
by the way,
Mm-hmm.
because you could have upsold them. You built this whole beautiful website. This agency could have upsold them. True story, could have upsold them into a consistent SEO services. Nothing crazy.
Not
They
including content creation, additional
oh
services off of that. Like, I
yes.
mean,
Yeah, none of that stuff. Just not even talking about Google Business Profile or like local SEO, just on their website, getting it to rank just a little bit better. And they could have turned that into a year-long retainer that would have resulted in 30K net new revenue for them for that year. And they didn't even have to have someone in-house for it because Advirtis is their white label partner. So Advirtis does white label SEO, right? And so they Advirtis could have done it for them, but they
their
just did it.
margin on that project would have been much higher than their traditional service models.
Yes, I guarantee it. I guarantee that what their profit margin on the website probably was like what 20 or 30%, but their profit margin on SEO would have been like 60 or 70%, just
Easy.
just to keep it. But they had no process for adding it to the pipeline for the inbound sale. They had no process for like working that lead just because it wasn't a website. It
And
wasn't
what
their main
hurt
bread and butter.
and what hurt even more is that they didn't communicate it to us as their partners. So in this case, this is why it's important to have a partner that can do the services that you don't do in-house or that you don't really necessarily do all the time in-house. So this is a great example because like when we partner with an agency, we come in not only to do the work, that's like not even half of the project of what we're doing. We actually come in to help them sell it. We actually come in to help them educate the client. So actually make that process easier and to help them upsell it, yada, yada, yada. And to Zach's point, you know, having a lack of a sales process not only hurts you from net new revenue, but even in retention, because oftentimes, you know, when your client is, say you're running, you know, programmatic ads along with where you're doing any kind of ad campaign, it's not performing the way that you had hoped and you strategize, you want to pivot. And oftentimes these agencies, like they will pivot or they'll just sit back and be like, well, it just didn't work. It's like, no, you can't do that.
Didn't work out. I sent them an invoice. What more do you want from me? I Did you follow up? Did you call them? Did you email them? Did you
Cross sell
text
them.
them? Did you cross sell them? Did you try to downsell them? Did you know? Did oh, it didn't work out this month? Did you reach out next, like the following month? No, it's like, oh my goodness, leaving money on the table. But
Yeah.
the agencies that do well are the agencies that have a sales process down.
Yes.
And
Precisely.
just because oftentimes just because and the deal didn't work out in that moment this week, it doesn't mean that the deal's never going to work out.
Oh yeah. Well, and I'll do everyone here a favor. I will
Mm-hmm.
give you a glimpse into how we do sales in Advirtis, because way we go to market is we have a top of funnel pipeline. So right, we use HubSpot and we have multiple pipelines within HubSpot. And within that first pipeline, we're looking at agency partnerships. And then we know when we partner with an agency, they go out and resell for us, so that they go into a different pipeline after they become a partner. It's called an agency client pipeline. Our goal is to fill that, and literally have a sales team specific for each pipeline. Um, and so as we grow that, what happens is when a deal becomes inactive, we move them to what's called a reactivation pipeline within the CRM. Then when we're having our dry months, say Q4 can get a little dry because it's the holidays. Nobody's really actively going out and trying to sell their rear ends off, trying to make that revenue up. So what happens is, our partner success managers, they come in, they say, hey, we got these deals we wrote this year. Our team is actively writing, anywhere from 200 to $700,000 in revenue every single month. So they go back to that reactivation pipeline. They're like, what can we hash out here? And they go start following up. Then they work their inactive agencies. They work the reactivation pipeline. They work their funnels, essentially. We still have top of funnel running in the background. There's an entire process when it comes to sales. And if your agency doesn't have sales, you're really setting yourself up for failure. You need it. When we first started our sales team, straight commission only. And we literally made the commission so high. And I come in with my sales background, and I've been in sales for over a decade now, in different industries, and just kind of train them and so forth. You have to invest in that, but as an owner of an agency, that's your job. So that's kind of what you're supposed to do. But all that to say, like the agencies who are seen the most success in 2025, from my perspective, are the agencies that are focused on, being able to pivot and planning for success, having the ability to understand their churn, understand when and why it's important to move, and why that matters on the timing, right? Timing is everything in business. Third is having a sales process. And, I skipped over mitigating risk, but having a sales process that you can basically rely on as net new income coming in the door. And then fourth would be, I'm just going to go back to mitigating risk. And the reason why you want to mitigate risk, just a quick reminder on that, is because if you have the ability to move your cash flow around, and not be so vulnerable to just overhead as far as payroll, then it allows you the opportunity to make bigger decisions and move faster than your competition, which is everything, because there's 104,000 of you bad boys out there. So you got to get in there, and you got to start getting creative with how do you go to market. Zach, do you want to add to that?
Yep. Especially on cash flow and mitigating risk and pushing out cash flow, or taking in more cash flow. That probably could be a segment in and of itself of different ways. I mean, some high level ways is that if you're not leveraging even just something as simple as credit cards for all your tech stack, and then being able to push that in and out, that can also really help with cash flow. And then another item that can help with cash flow is billing on the front end. So many agencies miss this, where they automatically default to billing on the rears, right, at the end of the month as opposed to the beginning of the month. And that alone can really help with cash flow, right? Some agencies also have onboarding fees, right? So even lowering, say, your overall retainer, but in favor of a higher onboarding fee, that can also help mitigate your cash flows, because you're front loading the efforts. We all know that onboarding a client for any agency, the biggest lift is in the first 90 days worth of work, right? It's because you're getting access to everything. You're understanding the client. They're understanding you. You're going through process, all that good junk, right? Those are three very real, very tangible ways that you can help increase cash flow. I mean, there's dozens others, right? But I think in 2025, as Ozzy said, because it's a year where dollars were kept a lot closer to the chest and people were a lot less willing to spend, the agencies that succeeded had good sales processes, right? They both for inbound and outbound. They had good cash flow methodologies, right? For extending cash flow and obtaining more new cash flow. Um, and they also didn't let the opportunities that did come to them just kind of fall on the floor, right?
Yeah.
And so, uh, and that's we all know it's kind of business in general. Is you have good years, you have bad years, right? Um, there have been several of our agency partners where they were expecting a bad year and they're actually crushing it. They're ending the year, losing maybe a couple of their biggest clients and then ending the year with 5 new big clients. And Advirtis is helping support them on the back end with some of those. So that's how we know. But it's it some people will say that the marketing industry in general and marketing agencies are dead. They're definitely not. We're here to tell you that there's still so much money and so much interest in this, even with all the political turmoil. And we know this because even earlier this year, right after the election, um, a lot of our agency partners had trouble closing new business, but they were writing proposals and invoices left and right still.
Right.
There's still lots of people that had the budget, they had the dollars to spend, but they were just wanted to wait a little while longer before spending those dollars.
Yeah, I like to call that basically it's going to be somebody's going to open the floodgates eventually. So when you've been quoting all this business, what will happen is eventually those floodgates are going to open and you're going to have a really strong few, quarter or months or whatever it is. It could be next year even. But don't lose hope because you got to work the pipeline. And so all that to say, guys, this is a lot of fun, Zach. I really like this. So I think, we got to do it again next week, right? So
yes, that is our plan.
So for all of you listening, if you're an agency owner or you're working digitally, or even if you're someone working in corporate in marketing and you're looking to start your own agency, this is a great place to come visit us. We've worked with over 300 agencies in Advirtis, and we also own a private equity consultancy where we help agencies scale, and we also help SaaS companies enter into reseller market. Our goal is to serve you well and to help you avoid some of the mistakes that we've learned along the way, right?
Yes.
So that's what we're hoping to do with this. And please give us a follow, subscribe to us. But we're excited to be a part of this with you. And we're also looking to bring on guests in the future and things like that. So looking forward to it. Thanks, Zach. It was fun.
Thanks, Oz. See you guys later.